Good afternoon, Dr. Chiu. How are you?
Hi, good evening. I'm good.
Good. Okay.
Great.
So today I wanted to talk about bullying, a very sensitive, very sensitive topic.
Hmm.
And the title of this episode is going to be, is there a silver lining to bullying? As are there benefits to
Hmm.
bullying? So what are your thoughts?
Well, bullying has been around since the beginning of humanity, so it's nothing new. There certainly is a huge problem because until you look at it from a different perspective, it's quite it's quite damaging.
Hmm.
Right. So let's talk about, I mean, first of all, let's I appreciate you sharing. So let's hear what you have, but also the president who's now going to be the third time he's run and successfully become president. Um, the president was bullied during the presidential debate.
He was.
Yeah. How do you feel? I mean, when you watched the debate, well, you watched it the second time if you didn't watch it the first time, but we talked about this and you looked at it and you sent me some messages because that was going to be our topic tonight. So how did you feel? I mean, once you looked at it from a bullying perspective, because Donald Trump has always been looked at as someone pretty powerful, right? Someone more of an aggressor. But this time, when you looked at the presidential debate against Harris, you did you see bullying, and how did you see it?
So I watched the recent presidential debate,
Hmm.
and the debate was supposed to be against him and Kamala, but he was also debating the hosts,
Hmm.
which I found pretty ironic and certainly not
Right.
meant to be fair. The host was frequently fact-checking him, and
Hmm. So,
yeah,
yeah. So that's really interesting, right? When you are against others, and when they were fact checking, maybe it slows down his ability to answer certain questions and various things. So in that sense, right, Donald Trump has always been portrayed as an aggressor, and this time he was bullied, right?
correct.
Yeah. So I mean, how did he do? I mean, did he break down and cry? And what did he do about the bullying?
No, he stood up.
Hmm.
He came back.
Hmm.
He took 3v1,
What
and
would have happened if he cried?
he
Like,
would have lost his
like
supporters.
what if he cried, like, this is unfair, you're bullying me? Like, what would have happened during the debate? What would have happened?
He would have lost most of his supporters. He would have succumbed to their bullying. He would have made them feel satisfied.
Hmm. So, did you learn anything from that observation?
I think don't give your bullies
Hmm.
satisfaction they want. But I
Okay,
think
so that's a rule, right? We should remember that. Don't give in to the bullying, right? Okay,
correct.
now, what's better than that solution?
I don't know.
Um, so if you're not strong enough to go against the bullying, then the better solution would be not even be there. Like if there was like a magic wand, to wave it and just like totally disappear, turn invisible, right? Right?
How can our
Go into a different dimension altogether, right?
but how can our fifth and sixth graders do that? The main target audience for this podcast. How can they just go in that
Right.
direction?
So how do you get a time machine or some kind of magic wand? Well, the modern magic wand would be to be transparent about your bullying. Don't hide it.
Don't hide it.
Yeah, make sure it's like everybody knows. Like for example, you got to watch the presidential debate a second time based on this topic to see what was happening. You're now observing. So if if it was well advertised, like the presidential debate, then people would be able to see it, right? So if your parents, your teachers, your peers, right, the more people who know about it, the better it is to be able to see who's the bully and who's
Mhm.
the victim, right?
Correct, correct.
Right. But if you hide it, like nobody knows other than you saying you were bullied, then obviously that's hard to address, right? So the key would be in the face of adversity to make sure that there are enough people observing this. Now that's very hard because the victim doesn't want to be in like publicly seen, right? The bully, do you think the bully wants to be publicly seen? Right?
No,
That right, exactly. So the bully also doesn't want to be publicly seen. So if this were in school, right, then I would make sure that as many people know this as possible, right? Not your version, oh, I was bullied, but the circumstance as it is, so that it can be commented, and opinions can be rendered.
I
That's
see.
that's one solution. The other solution, of course, is to totally, right, avoid um, being in those circumstances. Now, the third, of course, is to embrace the circumstance, like go get bullied.
Hmm.
Yeah, and but then make sure you survive. Make sure you have like all the antidotes, like like your everything kits. Make sure you
Yeah.
have like everything there to go through. Like look at being bullied is like a rite of passage. It's like good for you.
So when I was in
Mm.
seventh grade,
Hmm.
I was on the bus.
Mm.
There was these four kids. Uh,
Mm.
three of them Indian, one was white.
Hmm.
Not that it matters, but just
Hmm.
just for some context.
Hmm.
And they said, I think it was December, December, and
Hmm.
we were in the back. They bullied me a lot. Like they took my backpack, they punched my head, they kicked me. They said a lot of things about my mother and sister, and
Hmm.
they did a lot. And
Hmm.
when I retaliated, they said, I'm going to report you. That you hit me back, I'm going to report you.
Hmm.
That prevented me from reporting them, thinking that I would get in trouble. What are what is your advice for a situation like that?
First of all, congratulations,
Why?
because you are now in the league with four very famous people. You're a survivor of bullying, so you should know that Oprah Winfrey survived being bullied. She faced bullying due to poverty and how she looked at as a child. But then she became a global media icon and advocate for those who are bullied. So that's one. Second one is a very famous individual. His name is Elon Musk, and he was under severe bullying when he was in South Africa. And he developed this pioneering entrepreneur spirit that revolutionized multiple industries because he developed this thick skin, just like Oprah did. And then the third person, incredible singer, Lady Gaga. She was teased and bullied for her style and her appearance, but then she emerged as this champion of mental health and anti-bullying campaigns. And all three of those are well known. They're not known for their survival of bullying, but those three have incredible history. But then the fourth character is not American. He's very famous. Uh, he um he led Britain through World War II. He
Yeah.
he then he had unmatched resilience because of how thick his skin was. But he was bullied for his inability to publicly speak, and he had poor results academically. And his name is Winston Churchill. So, um, does that make you feel better that these four top individuals were also bullied, but then became world famous?
But what about the people that didn't, that committed suicide, that fell off, that now their lives are ruined? So
That's a matter of perspective of how to, like I said, that everything bag. Hopefully today, in sharing those four winning examples, is think about it very differently when you are bullied, right? Not to be, and then of course the example we started off with Donald Trump, right? He did not have an easy time this third time running for president, right? The second time he was president, he ran and that wasn't good. But between the second time and the third time, he also got 31 indictments, right? So so that was significant, substantial. And he had to have thick skin, right? I mean, there was no other option. So if you are bullied and you become a victim, if you go and do what you were just talking about, right, ending it and doing those things, then all is lost. What about it? There's nothing to do about those people because they did not embrace strength when there was adversity. They've got to thicken their skin. The only way to thicken their skin in circumstances, there's other ways to thicken your skin, by the way, but not, um, it's not easy because there's cyberbullying today. There's other forms of bullying. There's always has been bullying since the beginning of time. And
correct,
and there's been methods out there. One is punish the bully, right? But that's a temporary behavioral change. It doesn't address the underlying issue. And then you can also risk perpetuating a cycle of harm, is that now the bully will retaliate. The key is to make the buck stop there, is to become super strong and to realize that, hey, if bullying was the secret ingredient that made all these people so famous, then I'm your huckleberry. Bully me. Let me become strong and thick-skinned. I will survive. Right?
correct. And even when building, I don't know, a startup later, I think it's 110% bullying. Like thinking about it now, right? Building blocks to path, there's so much trouble to come, and that bullying is gonna help me persevere and push through.
Yeah, I mean, and also blame yourself a little bit, by the way. You must have done something
Yeah,
to make
correct,
yourself you know, uh the victim.
correct. Because in this day and age, no one's being bullied for his skin color, the way you look, is not that
You
often.
said there was an Indian in there.
Yeah, correct, because it's not that often. It's people aren't being bullied for how they look anymore.
Mhm. So let's talk about why do you think you like why were you picked on? What did you do to
Me,
attract the attention? Yeah, what did you do?
I think I was just too many jokes. I used to be funny. I try to be funny, and I think that is what caused
Hmm.
people to come after me.
Hmm. So becoming noticed, right?
Yeah,
Right. Okay. And thinking and probably it bothered someone, it irritated them, and they had to put you in your place, right?
correct, correct,
Yeah. So if are a little bit more incognito, is that the solution, right? But also, if being funny is you, then keep on being you, right?
correct,
But if being funny wasn't you and you did that, then yeah, maybe drop that particular line item and transform yourself to being you, right? All the time is be you, right? And be yourself. And if it's like I don't like to be funny. I don't enjoy being funny. I take things very seriously, but you can figure out that with a personality exam of sorts and other ones is to become aware of yourself. What do you like? Don't try to please the crowd because there's always people in the crowd that you can't please, right?
correct, correct.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
all always are people.
Yeah, and I've been bullied myself, in many things, but I've enjoyed being bullied.
You enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. I even told people keep bringing it on. Right? I enjoy the thickening of the skin.
So you went to high school back around 30 years ago?
Was it 30? I'm 50, so it couldn't have been 30 because I was you're in high school by the time you're 14, right? So more than 36 years ago, right?
Do you think it was so different than from being in high school now?
No. I mean, yes and no, because for example, the SAT is now digitized. So you can call it a DSAT, digital SAT versus the paper exam. But the point of it is that we have always in the beginning of time rated people. But always remember this is arithmetic has been around for 20,000 years. Our algebra has been around for 4,000. Calculus has been around for 400. The piano has been around for over 400 years. So if you're a little stuck, don't try to invent it yourself. If you gave me a squash racket with no ball and not even in the room, I don't know, maybe it's a back scratcher, or maybe you use it to walk in the snow with. But no, that's a squash racket. So go find the experts. Figure out how they figured it out because you're not inventing something new. So don't waste time, right? Learn from the best. Those techniques are everywhere. And then apply them and find out if you like it. If you don't like it, don't waste time on it. Don't
Mm,
waste time. The key is don't waste the time and the effort on something you don't like. Um, and maybe you like it only because you do well in it, but some people like it when they don't do well, right? So then you learn to fix your weakness. You have got to understand yourself first,
correct,
all right?
correct.
So and then it's nobody's business. I mean, a lot of people wear like fashion design and other thing. But if you talk to the rich and the wealthy who don't need to be hired by anybody, they just wear normal clothes. But not all of them. Some of them wear nice clothes because they feel, they like the feeling of nice clothes. So it's not fair to generalize um because there's always exceptions, right? And and if you become picked on and victimized, remember what I shared tonight, which is those famous people who were bullied. And so some of the root causes though of bullying has you know has been studied. And one of them is there's a lot of bullying in school and workplaces
Hmm.
and prisons too.
I think
Yeah.
it's because they come from they themselves are insecure. For example,
But why is it prevalent in prisons? Are people insecure? They means these are some of the top criminals.
I mean, I think in prison you're just there for what you want because you're fully grown. Just what do you want as a person?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't. This is a very interesting thing. Is school, workplace, and prison? What do they have in common?
Uh, you're on people. You're on a lot of people.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places where there's people. But why is bullying happening so much in schools, workplaces, and in prisons? Um, Makes me wonder about the how are the other people like? Like, is it a high pressured environment? Would you say that there are moments of stress, um, and then there's a lot of pressure cooker type environment, so societal pressures, and then there's not a lot of empathy training for people in prison. There's not empathy training for empathy, meaning like you understand the other person's feelings. You don't do that in school. Like, did you ever sit in a circle and talk out your feelings in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, like all the way through?
No, no.
Yeah. So I currently run I'm a facilitator of the Wharton Women's Group, and I'm the facilitator. So that's when all these women come in and they speak about their get to know each other, and I facilitate it. So some of the women asked me, in fact, all of the women asked me, like, why are you in the women's group? You know? And
Yeah.
so my answer will determine, like, if I was funny, I might get bullied. I don't know. It might not be very good, even if I'm a man and I'm in the right. So I put myself in that situation. I elected to be the facilitator and I got chosen. Yeah.
I
Right.
see.
So my answer is crucial. So I answered that I want to be a facilitator because I have two daughters and I have a wife, and I've always wanted to understand how women feel.
Hmm.
And that's why I want to help facilitate and to learn, come here to learn about how women feel, how incredibly successful women think, and so that I can either transfer what's good or or optimize what could be better.
I see.
So your answer determines the outcome of the circumstance when you're suddenly asked, right? There's no way to practice this. You just go in there and you have to be authentic. Just like our conversations have slowly but surely matured, right? Um, Look, life is full of hardships. Being alive is the most terrible thing um, because there's tension moments. But then, how are you supposed to learn how to handle tension if you've never experienced a tension moment? So, what's lacking in schools, workplaces, and prisons is empathy classes. Like instead of taking just calculus and algebra 2 and geometry and let's throw in some history and is we need empathy classes. So one of the things I do with these groups is I put them together and we don't talk about each other's resume. I mean, you could, that's what people do, but not under my watch. I want you to talk about, tell me what makes your week the worst week ever, right? What's the worst thing in your week ever? So let's talk about our worst things. Um, do you value short-term success over long-term success, right? Make people think. And
Mhm.
and these kinds of questions, when you don't talk about yourself, um, allows you to get to know each other a lot deeper and a lot better.
I see.
Yeah. So if you, I mean, imagine if you had the opportunity to go back in time and somehow there was this empathy class and you're being funny, but then during empathy class with that bully in there and the other ones, you say, I really dislike something about myself is I hate being funny, but I'm funny because I want to try to make the day go by a little bit better in school, even though I'm not really very funny. If you do that, right, then maybe that person changes their attitude on having to like they took it upon themselves to set you straight or something, or they found that they had this issue. Um, we just don't understand each other in school, prisons, or workplaces, but then we're asked to compete against each other. So in school, you're asked to compete. You're graded and you're constantly learning. You have no idea what you're going to use that stuff for that you learned. Um, and if you're a math person, remember that writing class? What did you write? Like, are you sure that's going to turn into the next Harry Potter? So that's one problem. And then in workplaces, you're competing with each other because if people get fired, you hope you did the right thing, or do you raise your hand and say, "Yeah, man, I wish I was fired." That would be so wonderful. In fact, I said that one time to so many teachers when I was a teacher in 2017. And I said to any teacher, make sure you let the principal, headmaster know that if anything's wrong, I did it. And they would all look at me in a very strange way. And, if we did that to you, you'd be fired. I said, I want to be fired. I don't mind being fired. I mean, it's just, I'm an entrepreneur. Whether I'm fired or not doesn't matter. It doesn't affect anything. In fact, it'll give me a reason to do something else. So that's kind of unique. And I did that on my first 2 days of work when I was a
Oh,
teacher. Yeah, and I got to know a lot of teachers, and that's why I have all these books because they would give me all these books at the private school that kids were throwing away, and they were throwing away. Like they had so much money, they were throwing away all these books, and I didn't take like triples, right? I just took one copy of each, or maybe sometimes took two copies because they were given to me. So to this day, I have all these textbooks from when I taught 9 through 12,
I see.
right? So yes, you can give people a good time without asking them, though, whether they enjoyed your company can be taken offensively. All right.
Mm.
So when COVID was happening, people would ask me, should I take the vaccine? And I would say, absolutely, you should take the vaccine. And that would offend other people who were anti-vax, right? And
Yeah.
but then I would my host would ask me, well, did you take the vaccine? I said, no, I didn't take the vaccine. So, did your kids take the vaccine? No, they didn't take the vaccine. Did your wife take the vaccine? No, they didn't get vaccinated. So that satisfied the anti-vaxxers. But at the same time, my answer was crucial. Is that if you have to go to work every day and you have to be out there, like I'm an entrepreneur, so I can, and my kids are homeschooled, so I can, right? I can do certain things because I can be careful. Did they get COVID? No, they didn't get COVID. Did I get COVID? Yes, I caught COVID. So, so yeah, see, here's the statistics. In fact, I caught COVID while I was at Wharton. So yes, if you're not going to vaccinate, you have to be prepared that you might get the virus. If you're not going to vaccinate, you have to make sure you have proper precautions. But sometimes you can't have those precautions because you have to be at work. You have to deal with people. So you have to understand the risk versus reward. So it was a scientific answer, but you still get attacked because they said, "Oh, he's not treating everybody the same as he would answer it for himself." Sure, that's why I have thick skin. There's no perfect answer for anything, so especially the hard stuff. But whether you survive a bullying attack
Uh-huh.
shows you how much you value getting thick-skinned. And I would love getting thick-skinned.
Correct.
Yeah, because you need to get thick-skinned earlier when you're younger
Uh-huh.
rather than later. Otherwise, you totally collapse.
Well, I feel yeah, that is correct, but what do you do in the moment? So I
You
find it
talk to people who have been bullied, who survived and actually developed thick skin, so that way they can walk you through every step of the way of how to come back. Like, for example, Kamala Harris lost. She actually needs thick skin right now.
she does. She does. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And you don't go and develop thick skin by like rubbing yourself against a tree trunk or something, right? You have to go and learn from others who lost their campaign. And then not from those who lost their campaign and collapsed, right? You learn from those who lost their campaign and then did well. Here's a song for you, right? For anybody who's listening. At first I was afraid. I was petrified, thinking I could live without you by my side. And after spending nights thinking how you did me wrong, I grew strong and I learned how to get along. Wow. Get along is like keep going, right? And it says, now you're back from outer space and I find you here with that sad look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid lock or made you leave your key. If I had known for a second, you'd be back to bother me. So, so this song, right? Sang by Gloria Gaynor in 1978, talks about a terrible experience, but about survival. And it became like a top song, right? So, and it has like songs have answers, and there's other answers out there, but the skin thickening is not what most people would answer on the bullying. Like maybe this is like a sob session. I'm not about that. If you want a sob session, go listen to someone else. I'm about like pick yourself up and embrace the opportunity. The opportunity is getting bullied, and then how do you like learn from that,
Uh-huh. I
right?
see.
Yeah.
You
This is
can't
your
be
chance, right?
smart.
This is this is like remember, I went to China, Hong Kong without knowing how to read or write Chinese. Yeah. And
What are you telling me about your friend being in the royal blood for being Chinese back when you were in high school? Do you still
oh
know that?
yeah. Oh yeah, he got totally beat up. You talking about that friend who got beat up for being Chinese?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, his father wanted him to be like top in his class. And so many American Chinese, right?
yeah.
They like American born Chinese. Just because you're born in America doesn't mean you have to lose your Chinese self, but some of them throw away their Chinese self under the mattress, underneath the rug, because it's an inconvenience to embrace that because it just doesn't connect. And Chinese are tough because my parents, same thing. My father wanted me to be number one. I said, Dad, to be number one. I didn't say this like the way I'm saying it now, but like this is not China. If I try to exert my Chinese capabilities, um, I might be destroyed.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, you have to know yourself to pick your battles. Like I didn't care enough to be number one. So I didn't embrace that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
But
Right.
what happened to that friend? Is he okay? Is he all right?
Um, is he all right? Well, so there's one type that lets go of their Chinese side and then becomes like, they just let go of their culture. And another type is kind of stuck in the middle. And then I'm a type that doesn't matter what it is. I just need to be myself, right? I am not for one moment going to just live in that sobby moment. And that's how I kind of helped my friend there is is giving the same advice is you got to stand up. I keep going. And it helped him recover.
Hmm. I see.
I mean, what are you going to do, right? Like go back in time, really, in the time machine and go change that event. You got to learn from the situations, each situation, whether for the bully or the victim, there's something to learn from. And you can either keep sobbing about it, or the
Uh,
other thing is find help, find people who are able. We've all had bullying experiences, but some of us put less percentage on the situation and more percentage on how to move on, right? How to learn from the experience. But if you put 100% on that bullying experience and say, that's not fair. Well, there's a lot of unfair things. Chickens, when they get brought to be culled, they have a pecking order, and then that whole pecking order shifts because now they're inside this thing, and another chicken becomes a top chicken, and we're yeah, we can think like chickens and like animals and like wolves and dogs, but we're human. We have the cerebral cortex. We can do better. We can move on. And some people need their surroundings to help them move on, and others need like they can just move on. And those are very rare, extremely rare. That's why Box to Path is so important because we don't have all the right answers. We just have an ability to talk about it. We're willing to talk about it. Like, I mean, there's something wrong with you, Dheeraj, and something wrong with me. That we're talking about fifth and sixth grade life when we're past that. I think that the fifth and sixth grade life is that special inflection point that you could become like super duper incredible if there was only a platform to talk about this, and then you'd become stronger. Like, imagine if people could, like Reddit and Quora, put their bullying experience, and then you get some words of wisdom, right?
Correct.
Imagine that, right?
Imagine if we can build a Reddit for fifth and sixth graders.
Yeah, because they need a place to feel safe, right?
Correct, correct.
Right? Um and that's the um uh even if you put some basic quotes, right? Um uh one is no one can make you feel inferior without you allowing it.
Uh-huh.
Another one is courage is fire, but bullying is smoke, right? There's a lot of these I mean Taylor Swift even says the hater's gonna hate, 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 right? So so um there's an incredible opportunity here
Mhm.
for if there wasn't any bullying happening in fifth and sixth grade, you wouldn't get the opportunity to build this Reddit core discussion platform, right? Selena
Correct.
Gomez, by the way, says people are going to bring you down because of your drive. Now, Selena Gomez, I have to look this up, but I remember that she has a disease that she publicly shares. Let me see if Selena Gomez illness. All right, so yeah, she has lupus. She also has small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It's called SIBO acronym, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. What do you think of that?
I think it's good that she's sharing. She's not
Yeah,
letting other people, other young
right.
girls,
You know
look.
what what that causes? Like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO. You have like constant like gas. So you're farting all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, you could be farting when you're singing. She's a performer, right? So what? She has been honest and open about it, and it can also cause weight changes,
It
right?
is.
She's been open about it. She has mental illness as well. So she has three things. She has mental illness, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and she has lupus, which is like uh, your immune system is bullying your other cells. So it's attacking your other cells. So she has inflammation and pain throughout her entire body. She even went through chemotherapy as a part of her treatment. In 2015, she shares it with the world.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
see.
right. So my point is that she has been an advocate even this year on hitting back at the body shaming and things like that, but it's not going to stop, right? Because there are always these people with immaturity. But what you can do though is you can not ask for sympathy because that doesn't work either. If you look at historical trends and solutions like throughout history, right? If throughout history it's not going to work, but what does work is having support groups. And that's why Box the Path is so powerful because it could turn into a fifth and sixth grade support group. And then of course six, seven, eight, all the way to for life is that having a support group that you can share your vulnerabilities like at that age doesn't exist
Does not exist,
because it's not viewed as necessary.
but it is necessary.
It is. Of course it is. The problems that we face in the world are so urgent that it needs to be understood by fifth and sixth graders, not delayed until they're finished with college. Because by the time like you're already distracted. When I talked with you, you would have been better at fifth and sixth grade, and that's why we have to help these individuals. Yeah.
I think that was, you know what, actually, I think I'm gonna post a link to the Google Doc that I made for this episode for our viewers, so our viewers can read that.
Yeah, and you didn't know how I was going to respond either.
Nope, I didn't. And
Right.
I think the document has some important important topics that they can read, look over.
Sure. The key is that we don't have the solution, but together, if more people joined on,
Right.
then the solution would manifest itself because we're not alone. And that's what you need to know is that being bullied
Uh-huh.
or being the bully, that's type, the bully needs a support group as much as the victim does.
Exactly.
The bully could learn, hey, that's not a good way to express yourself, Yeah, Dheeraj maybe got on your nerves, but knocking out his teeth, right? I'm exaggerating, but picking on him and doing that, that's not. Are you sure you want that on your record when you run for the president of the United States? Hypothetically saying, right? Just we all make mistakes, but if there's no support group, then the mistakes just keep piling up. I mean, oh, I made a mistake, or I wish there was a support group for what I went through, or for what my friend went through, right? Of why should Chinese people be number one in school? I mean, is there a rule for that? But if you're Chinese or you're Indian and you're not number one, it's a little weird. So now, not only are you being bullied by your your Chinese church friends and parents and things like that, there's some tension there, and we might call that bullying in some ways, but they might say, "Oh yeah, that's normal." And then there's bullying in school. So you can't have it right either way. And it's not okay. At the same time, until there's a support group, you've got to figure out a way to thicken your skin, right? But if there was a support group, then there's a lot more pampering that could be done, a lot more support, a lot more nicer words that could be had when there's a place to call your home, and that's Box to Path.
Right. Correct.
Great. All right.
I think it's a good note to end on.
Yeah, let's end here.
And you know what? I'm gonna add more to the document, and all the viewers, they can go check it out. And if they missed a point or wanted some more explanation on some points, they can check that out.
Great.
Great.
Good night, Dheeraj. Good night, everyone.